The discussion was about the specificity of the Hungarian political system, and I argued that it's basically a mistake to identify the localized version of the politics to the great picture. So my argument in this discussion was that we should look at this very particular phenomenon, which is the way how Hungary is governed at the moment, as a product of the globalization and the very specific inability of both the political scientists and the politicians to understand the deep meaning of 1989 as a point which is redefining what Europe is and what progressive politics is. So let me elaborate on this very particular argument on 1989 as a key point, because so far there has been a lot of discussion about what 1989 meant for Eastern Europe and how this transition had failed, and a lot of political scientists are actually conceptualizing and understanding this political system in the framework of failure. However, I would like to argue that 1989 also meant and also had a consequence for the so-called Western European, the European Union part of Europe, namely that Europe was based on a moral bankruptcy of 1945. It was based on anti-fascism, anti-militarism and anti-nationalism, and it was based on a normative power. And this normative power was based on the exclusion of others. Until 1989, that was conveniently the Soviet Union. Therefore, when this enemy disappeared, then this issue hasn't been really understood. Namely, first, what are the implications that the Soviet Union, which was based on so-called equality, had been existed? What are the consequences? What are the lessons what progressive political forces need to learn from this? On the other hand, the question is, what are the consequences of this very specific political unit which is based on normativity and exclusion? And therefore, I really learned a lot in this meeting, because I learned that how the European Greens are thinking about what kind of new political rhetoric is available about Europe, about the fundamental rights of Europe, and how this can be actually achieved with meetings like this. As far as the visions are concerned, there are several visions. We are not lack of visions. Unfortunately, these visions are on the one hand, very limited, on the other hand, very problematic. So there is a big debate about good society in the European left. And I have a very critical stance towards this debate on good society, because this basically ignores, as far as I know, the gender aspect of good society, and only looks at the state and the ungendered, unspecified political actors and their relationship. There is another vision which is related to the guaranteed minimum wage, which is somehow linked to the economy and the transformation of economy and the labor and work themselves. And I have to say there is a third vision, which is also a part of the European legacy, the European bitter experience and the European past, and that is the anti-democratic kind of neo-fascist vision of Europe, which is based on different, again, imagined communities. And events like this can actually contribute that we should really actively counteract this latter vision, which is also a kind of European vision, which is going back to the Festung Europa vision of the Nazis, and this vision which is actually made stronger by the globalized capitalist markets.